Hello, coasters. Welcome to another edition of the Sonic Hosts Coast to Coast podcast. It's been about a week or two. We're sorry we're slow on the uptake. Life is getting in the way, and life's a bitch, but we endure. Um, Today we are here with my good pal Radrey. Radrey, say hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hi. Hello. Um, how are you?
I'm fine. Doing good over here.
All right. Well, we're doing okay over here. Ignore the fire that's raging all around us. But I digress. We're here to talk about some more episodes of SatAM as we go through our SatAM rewatch, rewind, replay, reinsert other adjective here, or verb actually, not adjective. Re is the adjective. So, anywho, before we get into that, we do have some current events, current news. We are recording this on my time of November 8th, November 9th for Radju in Japan. But we've had some Sonic 3 stuff come out, some new promotion material, aka a new poster came out on the 7th. Usually, if they release a poster, a trailer is usually right around the corner. I've seen some people claim that there's going to be one with Gladiator because that's coming about in about a week. I've seen people say it's going to be out with Moana. So regardless, it's going to be in the next couple of weeks. Um, they did announce that Tika Sumpter, Ben Schwartz, and what's his face, James Marsden, are going to be at the Brazil Comic Con in December because technically it's summer for them this time of year in the Southern Hemisphere. So that's December 7th. So they'll go over some stuff with that, but odds are we will probably have that last trailer before that as the marketing blitz for the movie gets in. No doubt we will talk a little bit about that trailer once it comes out. Um it's really kind of all the news. Obviously, people are enjoying Sonic X Shadow Generations. The reviews are fairly positive. I've seen a few people who dislike it, but they've kind of jokingly referred to them as the fun police, or themselves as the fun police, so they kind of
What do
know
they
they have
dislike
the.
about it?
They didn't really like the story. Of course,
Okay.
one person in particular I know who said this is not a huge Ian Flynn fan, so I feel like.
They one of our what do you call those? Rogues gallery? Our Ian
No,
Flynn Rose gallery? Our usual
I wouldn't.
suspects? Okay.
No, I wouldn't say that.
You
I
know who
think
you
this
are.
person, you are. This person just don't want to like have them get ganged up on because
Who are we
they're
talking
pretty nice.
about, folks? Write it down in the comments.
Exactly. Who could it be now? Do 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 do. But this person's always been pretty respectful. Um, they just I think they're kind of more into that Sonic X, early
Oh
2000s take
Jesus, I
on
already know who
Sonic.
you're talking about. Okay. I
I'm
actually
sure you
didn't
know who I'm
know.
talking.
Maybe.
Let me write it in
Is
the
his
chat.
initials DB?
No,
DB Cooper?
nope.
Okay. Is it
Oh,
MF?
nah. I'll
Okay. It's okay. Our
all right.
listeners at home, just get out your I don't know, your tinfoil hats and tell us what it is we're thinking of. Anyway,
Yeah.
continue, please, Malzilla.
Anywho, so yeah, I mean, people are generally happy with it, and for the most part. But there's a few people just kind of they just thought it was fine. They kind of know that they're on the kind of the outside, you know, on the outside looking in. And I just want to say that to some of our listeners who I know are kind of the status quo hasn't been kind of their happiest lately, but it's like I think we've all kind of been in that thing where you like something in a franchise, everyone else likes it, but you kind of just don't think it's that great, and everyone jumps on you. You don't want to be like ganged on, so totally get it, totally get it.
Oh,
But
okay. Should I give our listeners a hint to who we're talking about, or absolutely not? What do you think?
Absolutely not.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Fair enough. Um, hopefully, our deal still stands. If you give us enough comments, enough likes, Radrey will stream Sonic X Shadow Generations. So hop on it, people. And other bookkeeping aside, or daily tasks aside, we are still on the hell site of X Twitter. We also are on Blue Sky, both for the podcast and personally. So give us a follow, join the Discord, be part of the conversation. And
Yeah, never give up, never surrender.
exactly. That's about kind of all the bookkeeping stuff we have to go over.
Did you want to talk about the annual that came out, or did we talk about that already? I have no
We
memory of.
didn't. I wanted to talk about it. Just I don't think we've had the time. And I have thoughts and feelings on it, but I think I might want to wait till 75 comes out before I kind of package that all together. Because I know y'all love me monologuing about IDW Sonic.
I don't know. Thumbs up for Malzilla's IDW monologue. Maybe this is what people here come for. I mean, I could look at the analytics, see when your IDW monologue goes up, or see how engagement they are. Got to drop everything I'm doing. I'm listening to the monologue. Yeah, so maybe it's like that. I got to check them out. So I'll get back to you on this. I will.
Well, I think with all that out of the way, let's dive back into SatAM.
Yeah, get into the time machine. And yeah, so today's episodes that we are doing are Sonic Racer, Sonic Harmonic, and Hooked on Sonics.
That was
Now,
Harmonic Sonic.
is Harmonic Sonic? Okay. Sonic dyslexia. Um,
Basically, that's the name of these episodes. They are very. Can I just make a quick joke about like
yeah.
hooked on Sonics? Do you remember like watching TV and they having like now you can get hooked on phonics?
You couldn't escape those, man. Of course I do.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really funny, like, because one of our listeners of the show, Asul, he he was like, I think I told you once that like one time he was asking me about one issue of Sonic Archie, and like he was asking me, why does Sonic suddenly sing "Bad boys, what you gonna do?" And I'm like, oh god. I'm like, that's from Cops. That's from a television show that was popular in the '90s. It was one of these like reality TV things before reality TV was a thing, right? And and it's like if you were growing up in the '90s in the U.S., you automatically knew where that was from. So yeah, stuff like Hooked on Phonics, of course. I'm not sure how the rest of the world was, because at that time America was very insular. We didn't have the internet. We didn't know what was going on in Europe or
Where the
Japan or
internet was in its earliest stages. This was the
well,
American Online
that was when it
age.
was a joke. Like everybody would like say stuff like, "Well, just go to supersalad.com to check out our latest promotion." And like, yeah, whatever.
You
Like
got mail.
this is rebate shit. I'm not touching that, that sort of thing. Back at that time, but now it's much much different. Now we're ruining people's lives day by day with this lovely thing called the internet. Yeah. Anything else you want to add on this, or should I just get into it?
Get into Sonic Racer because I have some interesting thoughts and
I have thoughts on each one of these ones. So yeah, our first episode is Sonic Racer. The air date is October 23rd, 1993. This was directed by Dick Sebast, and it was written by Len Jansen. If you want to know more about their pedigree and their story, we talked about in an earlier episode. IMDb ranks this episode as a 6.6 on their scale. But remember, it's IMDb. It's a bunch of film snobs. So it's not, I guess, I don't know if it's actually critics. I'm not sure. I mean, if you check out Rotten Tomatoes on Sonic, they don't have very nice things to say. The critics, that is. We could probably talk about those reviews another time. There's like only one positive review, but yeah, we'll get into that another time. So, let me begin with the synopsis. So our story begins with Sonic, Sally, and Bunny looking to destroy Robotnik's main power generator. Sonic does his usual thing of using himself as bait to lure away or dispose of Robotnik's security. Excuse me, Robotnik? I'm ready reading this wrong. Oh boy, where's my coffee? All right, no. Sonic does his usual thing of using himself as bait to lure away or dispose of Robotnik's security. Bunny uses her muscle to make her way through the buildings, and Sally brains her way in to dismantle the machines. It's basically kind of a very our cold open, our kind of like set. They would usually start the show with like our heroes kind of going into Robotropolis and having some sort of plan, and this is it. They're taking out a generator.
Oh, the cold open mission.
Yeah, the cold open mission. I want to add that Sonic shows like they have. I want to point out here. This is some praise. I want to say that they have some of the best animation of characters typing. I mean, the way Sally types in this, ooh, it's so good. I don't know, like from a previous episode, the Dark Beginnings one, just watching Rouge type, that was so good. I don't know what it is about that animation. It's like I could just like
It was
put that
good
on.
animation.
What?
I said it was good animation.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could just like have like what is it, like one of those vaporwave sort of like background music, lo-fi music, in like the background.
Lo-fi typing beats.
Yeah, lo-fi typing beats of just Rouge and Sally typing. Oh, that's good. I mean, I'm not sure what it is about the way it's animated, but it's like
I just see it. Coasters. Just because I've met Radrey in person, and we all know when they have that lo-fi beats, it's the person at the desk with whatever the outside of, and I picture Radrey at his desk, window, Tokyo Scoutline, and he's just hearing the click clacks in the comments of Rouge and Sally. I'm sorry, but that made me laugh.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And yeah, I should commission someone to draw that for me. But anyway, yeah, I could just watch. Yeah, I would just want to say I could watch an entire episode of just them two chatting with each other, like while typing. Because I don't know, the animation, ooh, so smooth. Well, actually, no, I take that back. It's not smooth. It's nice to look at. I mean, you could say some of it's not really well put together, but anyway, I'm talking about something nobody can see. So just go see it for yourself. What?
I'd say it was smooth for its time.
Okay. I like how we're spending time just talking about people typing on computers. Anyway, let's continue. As Sally overloads the main generator by setting it up for destruction, Robotnik groans. He does a lot of groaning, this episode especially, because he sees us from afar with the help of his tech. As this is happening, an elated Sonic and Bunny, and a very worried Sally, watch Robotropolis from a hill deep outside the city lose its electrical power for a moment before it quickly comes back online thanks to one of Robotnik's backup generators. Sally gets frustrated. What?
I throw out a couple comments.
Okay.
Does anyone else think the shield generators looks like the shield generator from Star Wars? Give me a reoccurring theme in these episodes. There's a lot of Star Wars in this one. Also, Sonic has this great line as he's harassing the SWAT bots of, "Has anyone ever told you you're ugly and you dress funny? Well, let me be the first. You're ugly and you dress funny." He's such a hater in these episodes, and it's great. He is just a sassy bitch. I kind of miss Sonic being a little sassy bitch.
Well, he's not as sassy anymore?
I think they've toned it down, but I think some of them are kind of bringing it back. So
now he's just an angel. But yeah, okay.
There was moments in IDW where he did kind of feel like that, and I think everyone kind of said, you know what? Tone back the good guy a bit, a little bit.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe he's getting too much hate from those Zoomers. Like, what is this shit? This is not my Sonic. Or maybe it's not Zoomers. I don't know who it is.
Hashtag not my Sonic.
What?
I said hashtag not my Sonic.
Oh yeah. Not my 50 Shades of Grey Christian or whatever that character's name is, because that was a controversy. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, because of, the backup generators come back on after them destroying the spending all that time trying to destroy the main generator. Sally gets frustrated, and our heroes return back to Nuthole. Nuthole? Yes, back to Nuthole. Oh, my
Wow, I
Freudian
mean,
slip.
yeah, this reviews are starting to go past that PG-13 rating that we try to abide by.
Yeah, we should have. We're gonna get into the lewd stories of the SatAM universe. What would those sound like? Sonic. What'd Sonic Racer be? What's the porn version of Sonic? Sonic Racer. I guess I'd have to think these up. This
I
would
don't
take.
want to go there.
We could
This
go
isn't
there,
for
but it's
engineer.
like we spend all day in this. We got stuff to do. We got an episode to what is it? We got the post mortem to do here, so we have a job to do. Let's do it. But yes, I think this is a very cute Sally moment where she gets really frustrated, where she kicks the ground. And I'm not sure what it is about characters getting frustrated, but I like this scene. I don't know what else to say. Anyway, let's move on. Meanwhile, back in Robotnik's headquarters, as Robotnik laments about what just happened, this prompts Snively to say that it would be best to appeal to the Hedgehog's inflated ego with a speed contest. Cut to Knothole with Sonic, Tails, and Sally, which are seen reading a note that they somehow acquire that informs them of a speed contest. Of course, Sonic is keen, but Sally sees right through it as a trap set up by Robotnik. Sonic responds that this race would be a diversion from Sally's backup generator mission, and Sally begrudgingly agrees. Back in Robotropolis, Robotnik and Snively speed test their new cheetah-looking racing bot, clocking in half speed at 500 miles an hour. Okay, so I'm going to have a little game theory MatPat moment here. So does that
Go
mean
for it.
that, like, Sonic has speed up to 1,000 miles per hour? I mean, like, doesn't the show, like, how fast is, like, he's supersonic? Or how even fast is that?
Well, power scaling Sonic is really hard.
Okay.
And it's kind of almost getting into like the Dragon Ball Z levels of power scaling where things are just getting ridiculous. I mean, like if you take things at face value, Sonic can go light speed in the adventure game, so it's like 1,000 miles per hour wouldn't be that far out of the equation.
Hmm. I
And
mean,
well, now that you think about it, if we go back to Sonic Movie 1 as they're, road tripping and what you figure they're probably Montana, Idaho, and he makes when he points, San Francisco's this way, he says, and you see Sonic rush off and he rush back and he's covered it, he's all wet with a fish on his head.
mhm.
And he says he crashed into the Pacific Ocean. So he covered a lot of ground really quickly. So yeah, he might be able to do so.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, though. This is a power scaling argument. It's not worth spending too much time over. But I guess if
We are
we're
not
going
Death Battle, folks. We're not Death Battle.
yeah, I mean, this is one of these things the show wants you to sort of look over and just ignore. So I think I'll go with the show on this one, and I'll just ignore it. Um, so we return back to Knothole. Sally is off story time duty with Tails, and Bunny is in her place. And Sally looks out the window in despair because she's worried about Sonic. Tails and Bunny both assure her that Sonic will be fine, but she isn't too convinced. I don't know why, but at this very moment, it starts to remind me of the Bechdel test. You know what this is, right?
The Bechdel test, yes, the two girls talking and not about a boy.
Yeah, but they are talking about a boy, and I'm like thinking, it made me think, like, did they just fail the Bechdel test because they're talking about Sonic? I don't know. I'm not sure why this thought popped in my mind, but anyway. And also, I want to point out that the wolf in Bunny's story is a nasty one-eyed snake. I don't know if like the people who wrote this were perverts or they're just like they couldn't figure out what to write or
Bonnie
what.
has dongophobia.
Uh, maybe I don't know. There's something really weird about this whole like Sally and Tails and heck even now Bunny with having him at bedtime. But anyway, let's not get into that. Fast forward to Sally, Antoine, and Bunny entering Robotropolis again, noticing how barren the area is with all the SWAT bots being at the streets of Robotnik's planned race. Um, then we go to an unimpressed Sonic in a red cloak looking at his race competition of several hovercrafts, to a mildly alarmed Sonic after looking at the new Cheetah bot, or Cheetah robot. I want to point out, is the red cloak another Star Wars reference? Do they wear red cloaks? I don't remember
The
any of these.
Jedi wore, well, I guess most of the Jedi wore brown cloaks, the Luke and brown, black. But yeah, the red gives off a very Jedi vibe. Though Robotnik's about to make a comment that goes in a slightly different direction.
Yeah, not one I was expecting. Yeah, Robotnik next enters the streets of the race to berate a quote unquote a little red rodent hood. Sonic, his words. He didn't say Sonic, but because he sees right through the disguise. Stively then states that there are no rules to the race except that to stay on the marked course. Um, After this line, little red rodent hood. Do you think they made this entire episode just so they could have Jim Cummings say "Little Red Rodent Hood"?
I could see it.
Like they're just looking at the character, like when they're like sitting there in the writers' room and saying, it'd be funny if Robotnik called him Little Red Rodent Hood, because those red
Well,
shoes.
yeah, the thing is, he's got such a fun villain voice. It's like you could literally just like come up with the weirdest shit to say, and Jim would make it sound legit.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Another thing I want to point out is Sonic's really shy in this scene. What do you think? Why do you think they made him shy?
Well, I think he was trying to pretend that he wasn't. He was trying to be incognito as much as he could.
Why, he's embarrassed that he agreed to the race?
Well, he's trying to hide his identity.
Okay, only like
Not
why does
that anyone, not that anyone, doesn't know that it's him. Everyone knows it's him.
I mean, like, I'm trying to figure out, like, why does he need to hide his identity? Isn't he, like, kind of full of himself? Or is he just, like, what was it that wants to make him, what makes him shy in this very moment that he doesn't want
Again,
to,
he's trying to. It's kind of one of those tropes, and I was gonna save this for after the episode, but I'll bring it now since it's relevant. Is this whole race is like straight out of Robin Hood? Like, if in pretty much any version of Robin Hood, the Disney version, Robin Hood Men in Tights, which is always going to be the funniest version of it, is they have that little plan where they're going to trap Robin Hood with an archery contest because they know he's the best, and any chance to flex, he's gonna. So they're gonna set up a trap for him. And but in each of the versions, Robin Hood shows up in a disguise so he can compete without having all the guards come after him. I'm assuming it's something similar like this for Sonic. Even though I think everyone knows and he knows that they all know it's him, so.
hmm. Yeah, because I'm a little confused by this scene. I don't know why they need to display him as shy, because I don't think they really set anything up to say why he needs to feel this way. But that's what I got
Again,
out of this.
I don't think it's he's shy. I think he's just trying to it's his attempt at a disguise.
Okay. Well, then, I mean, like, why does
It's
he
a
need to
bad
disguise himself? I mean, does he not?
because he knows, he's Hedgehog public enemy number one to Robotnik. If he shows up, they're gonna try to capture him. Even though,
Hmm.
again, it's kind of, yeah. That's, and I think it's a case of
See,
you
he
get
doesn't
it. Or you
have. Okay. Maybe he just doesn't have the hubris enough to like just say, "Hey, what up, guys? It's me, Sonic. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. That sort of thing, right?"
Sure,
You'd
let's
say
go
that
that
like
way.
what?
I said sure. Let's go with that then.
No, I'm just saying. I'm wondering if that's like. I'm wondering why they didn't choose that direction, opposed to like why they chose like him in a cloak and trying to hide his identity.
Well,
Um,
it's again, like I said with the whole Robin Hood thing, it's so they don't capture him.
Okay.
Except the disguise is pretty, it's not very a good disguise.
No, no. I mean, I don't know. To me, it just kind of makes me scratch my head. Like, why did they make
It,
that
it it's
decision?
a it's a it's a storytelling trope. It's just,
Yeah, I guess
that's
that's fair. It is kind of a storytelling trope. I'm wondering which story they aped. I mean, obviously this one wasn't Star Wars because I'm all over Star Wars. So
but like I said, they pulled this from Robin Hood.
you really think it's from Robin Hood?
I mean, I mean, again, sci- field trip time, folks. Field trip time.
All right, I'm here for it.
Uh, if everyone goes to their YouTube and type in archery contest Robin Hood,
Right,
they
I
have the
watched
whole
it.
thing.
You sent it to me.
Yeah, and I'm looking at both the Disney and the Men in Tights, and I mean, actually, yeah. Again, it's this like we're gonna use this to catch them, but you know, it didn't work out.
Hmm. Okay. Um, let's move on. Uh, I could talk about this all day. So Robotnik and Snively return back to their headquarters to watch the race begin, with Sonic and Cheetahbot to lay the first Sonic surprise. In their words. By the way, Robotnik says that it warms the cockles of his heart. Isn't there dialogue later in the show where he says he doesn't have a heart?
I think I forget what episode that's in, but yeah, that's
I'm pretty sure it's the first episode of the season 2 where like he puts Snively in his mouth, which is like something out of like Ren
something.
and
It's
Stimpy.
weird. It's
Yeah,
weird.
I remember laughing out loud after seeing that. I'm like, okay, like it reminds me of like how the Simpsons like in the early 2000s where they kind of went overboard with some of the jokes because they realized it was I don't know why they went overboard, but they seem like they're trying to get people to stick around. So they made everything they made the world embellished to the point where it doesn't seem real anymore, right? And I don't know what this heart line here. I mean, before we get into that episode, this heart line here, this sort of reminds me of like the When the Grinch Stole Christmas. I'm guessing this is supposed to be a reference to that, like where they always talk about how cold his heart was, or at least that's what I got out of this.
I kind of got out, kind of one of those classic sayings of "Ooh, this warms the cock." It's kind of that the feel good. They think this scheme is gonna work.
Hmm.
Spoilers. It doesn't.
Hmm. Well, yeah. Well, we know what show we're watching. So anyway, elsewhere, Antoine and Bunny have a cute moment together where Antoine states that the peace and quiet makes him sweaty. Bunny flirts with him and calls him a muffin, while Sally struggles to figure out how to infiltrate Robotnik's backup generator. I want to point out here: is this where Ken Penders saw the origin of Buntuan? I mean, that was a Ken Penders thing, right? Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me
I
it was
think it was
Gallagher.
Gallagher. I think
Okay.
so. Like I remember it feel like it looked like more of a Gallagher thing.
Okay.
But I feel like maybe that was something they had like maybe pulled from Sega. Because I feel like maybe, and again, some people will know what some of Ben Hurst's plans were if and potential seasons further. It feels like they were gonna go toward Bunny and Antoine on their own.
Okay. Hmm. All right. No, I remember I recall Ken Penders saying something about that, or like maybe he made it. He wrote more for it, or I forgot what. But um, I know he's kind of seen as a villain in the Sonic fandom, but I don't mind giving him credit when credit is due. But he does have his own interpretation of the facts. So I'm not saying it's correct. I'm not confirming or denying that any of this is correct, but I do believe that people should get the credit where the credit is due. So, uh, anyway, so Sonic meanwhile bypasses Robotnik's second Sonic surprise and calls him a chump. Robotnik groans and sweats Snively about this. Snively promises that the next one will be better. I want to point out that I laughed out loud when like Robotnik like really started getting angry when he called him a chump. He's like, he called me chump. Ah! I don't know, like, is that a word to get upset about? Like, if somebody went you like in a store and called you a chump, would you get like incredibly irate by that?
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, did like the writers want to write something else? We're like, no, you can't say that. You can't say that. Just say chump. And he gets upset about chump. Like, like what's the worst thing you could call him? I don't know. I guess this isn't a family show, so I mean, I don't. If any of our commenters or listeners know, I'd be interested to know. So after the failure of the third surprise, see what I did there? I don't even have to talk about it. I mean, you can watch it for yourself. It's a third surprise, unless Malzil wants to talk about it.
I wrote it down.
Okay. I mean, I could just say that the Cheetah Bot has like an arm that comes out of it and it throws Sonic in the air, and then Sonic does an acrobat routine and he escapes. The end. Well, the end of the third Sonic surprise. But anyway, Sally, Bunny, and Antoine assess the difficulty of approaching the generator. Antoine volunteers. The reasoning why is to what I'm guessing is to win the heart of Sally. Something we see pay off later in a different episode. To climb down to a poly belt that is unfortunately triggered by him that's waiting to crush him. This prompts Sally to shoot a flare gun to notify Sonic, who's racing side by side next to the Cheetah Bot. He immediately sees this in the Robotropolis sky and removes himself from the race to find Sally, Bunny, and Antoine. Sonic then saves Antoine from the poly belt from where he is in danger. I gotta point out that I'm surprised how forgiving Sonic is in this episode. I mean, especially later too, and like Hooked on Sonics. It sort of makes me wonder if this is like a note, like maybe from Sega to make him more like altruistic. Because like back then, like in the '90s, they used to have all those troops. Yeah, they had these tropes of like the hero lies, or the hero has trouble, or the hero grieves, right? And that's what makes him a stronger hero because, runtime. We need more of it. This is a 90-minute movie. We got to have this in there. I'm surprised they didn't do that because, like in Sonic X, where we get a very, very different Sonic, I'd say he's more like, when we get there, he's more angel-like. He's more of like the Deus Ex that's just staying up in the heavens and only comes down when he's needed. And like, he's like flawless in a weird way. But I don't know. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I would say as someone who watched Sonic X, and again, kind of Sonic, again, it's one of the reasons that I'm not particularly fond of this take on Sonic, is that, he doesn't really feel like a character. It's like, typical Sonic X storyline of Chris, hey Sonic, let's go do something fun. And everyone's like, yeah, let's go. And he's like, nah, I'm just gonna, take a nap. And they're like, all right. Robot Eggman attacks. Oh, I wish Sonic was here to save us. 5 seconds later, Sonic shows up. It's like, hey everybody, I'm here to save you. It does feel very Deus Ex.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my question here, I guess, is how does it make you feel when, Sonic just kind of like doesn't, well, I guess we'll get more into that in Hooked on Sonics. I have more of a thing to say about that. Let me save it for that one. But I'm just surprised how forgiving he is. He doesn't like judge anyone for getting in trouble or causing trouble, or because like Antoine keeps messing up and he doesn't berate him for messing up too much. But whereas I think you could have went hard on him berating him. Yeah, because I feel like
Yeah.
'90s media did that a lot. But anyway, to wrap up this episode, due to a power ring being jammed into the polybelt grinder, it destructs the backup generator, and all of Robotropolis loses power. Robotnik fumes. Robotnik has red glowing eyes here, in the darkness because all the power is out now, and it's hinted that he abuses Sniffly again. Um, I'm going to ask: is this a one-time thing? The eyes, like the glowing eyes,
They did that a couple times in the comics, but I feel like
did
this was
they?
just a
Huh.
like they did a one-time gag in the show. Like in Ian's run, there are a few times you would see Eggman's eyes behind his glasses, and they were the red and black.
Hmm. Hmm. Maybe in Japan the glowing red has a bad image or something. I'm not sure. A fun fact: the Xbox, when that came to Japan, I forget if it was the 360 or the original one. I don't think it was one, Xbox One. Um, for a while there, they would call the Xbox the Red Ring. That's all they would call it. If you remember at that time when a bunch of Xboxes got recalled.
The
So
red ring of death.
yeah, yeah, that was a major problem back then. If anybody remembers, again, thumbs up if you remember. Uh,
I'm
yeah. So finally, back at Knothole, Sally butters up how great Sonic is in front of the other freedom fighters, and they raise their drinking cups to cheer to a free Mobius. Um, before I say end of episode, which is coming soon, one, what are they drinking? They're like teenagers, right? Are they drinking like uh Mobian wine? Or I guess Earth wine, Earth wine, uh
hooch. Drinking hooch.
hooch,
Jungle juice.
uh
Jungle juice.
jungle juice.
Fermented.
Okay. All right. Is this the juice and jam that Sonic keeps talking about in the show?
Yes, it
Okay.
is the juice.
All right. Um Sonic juice. All right. So two, it's not really a question. Now this is a proper denouement or denouement, however you say it in French. I talked earlier about Ultrasonic, the episode with Uncle Chuck, and how it just kind of abruptly ends. But to me, now we're finally in the arena of where they have a proper denouement, I think. So anyway, end of episode. That's it. So Malzilla, thoughts and rating, letter grade.
It's really interesting when you look at this episode. I remember watching. This is probably one of the first episodes I ever saw. So this is like, 94, 95, probably when I saw it. And I wasn't as versed in the greater, outside the Sonic 2 and 3. I don't think I knew Sonic CD existed at the time. So by the
Not
time this
many
aired,
people knew it existed at the time, but yeah.
yeah. But like I look at this and it's like this whole cheetah thing. If you had done this episode in today's time, that'd be Metal Sonic. This is just that Cheetah Bot is just a
That is
wannabe
very
Metal
fair. Yes.
like it's like, oh, look, he's so speedy. It's like you almost like would want to like just edit the race between Sonic and the Cheetah Bot and just throw Stardust Speedway in the background. Basically, what it is.
That is very true. I wonder if they actually I wonder who copied who or who came up with the idea first. It is very much that. It is
And
very much I never thought of that before. Yeah, that is very true. Because I
that's
mean
why I bring the game Sonic TV show comparisons. Yeah. Um, my guessing again, as we know, episodes take like a year to develop.
mhm.
So this again was probably they worked on this idea probably while Sega was working on Sonic CD, and as we know, lack of communication was kind of the name of the game back in the day. Whereas
Mhm.
like now, like, oh yeah, they're just like, hey, check this out. We have this robot Sonic. They'll be like, dude, that's awesome. Throw him in
Mhm.
there.
Right.
Um, I mentioned my Robin Hood comparison with
Yeah.
the archery contest.
Yeah.
The only other thing I would say is that Ant gets it nearly screws up the whole mission. And
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
oh,
well, you got to have the entropy factor there somewhere. You got to have a
there's
plot.
actually really something interesting I find. If you go to that end scene by the campfire,
Mm-hmm.
there's a character that looks like Hamlin and Jeffrey St. John. Like there's
Oh,
a
is there?
skunk and a pig that look exactly, you know. And I would imagine this episode debuted before those characters showed up, so it's like was Ken just lifting Jeffrey's like, it's a character design. I don't even have to design it. I'm just gonna make him you know, a
I don't
character.
know, man. I've seen his NFTs, so who
Yeah,
knows? Who
who knows?
knows? Um, I,
Um,
I don't want to
I
spend this
would
whole
say
podcast just like dunking on Ken Penders, but it does make you
we do
wonder.
that enough as it is. I give it
Yeah.
a C plus. I give it a C plus.
C plus, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Any other comments before I go into my post mortem, my
Go into your
post mortem?
go into your postmortem.
All right, I give it an A. Yeah, A. Let
Okay.
me think. Is there anything I would don't like in this episode? I don't know. I don't want to give it an A plus because I feel like that's too much credit. But the reason I will say that my relationship with this episode is this is one of the episodes that was on VHS. You know, that was sold at stores. You could actually physically buy it. So this is one of the ones I actually saw back in the 90s. And then in 2021, yeah, 2021, this was the first episode where I started rewatching all of SatAM. I started from the very beginning, you know, how we started with Heads and Tails and then Sonic and Sally. And this was the first episode where I put it on and I was background watching it. And there's the moment where Sonic with his ego, he really just wants to win this race. But after Sally, shoots the flare gun, he immediately drops everything he's doing to go help, Sally and Bunny and not Rotor, Antoine, right? To me, it was an interesting choice because it's like that was the time when like I went from background watching to sitting down on the sofa to where it's like I actually want to watch this now. It's like I want to stop what I'm doing and like actually consume this and not watch it like it's I don't know background noise. Because I do this with a lot of shows because I got so many things to do. But and to me, it's just this was the episode that kind of said to me like this was a special show. This was something very unique and different for the time. And this is one of these things where it's like I still remember this show today because of like some of the writing choices and creative ideas. And maybe you might be there at home saying things like Radley, you're overdoing it. You're saying too much praise. You're saying way too much praise for this show that's not even canon. That's not even part of the Sonic lore anymore. And to me, it's like the writing still holds up. This is a great arc plot. I mean, maybe you could also say that like there was a lot of good writing in kids shows at this time, and probably because if you look at like the pedigree of all the people who worked on this was all they did. They worked really hard on these episodes, or at least I'd like to believe they did, because like their IMDb just shows all it is just these cartoons that they worked on. And sure, you could probably say that these, they're just cartoons. They're just these very ephemeral things that exist in our world. But to me, this episode really kind of spoke to me in a way that, it kind of was trying to show you that Sonic is so much of a hero that he would drop everything he's doing and he would give up his ego, to go help his friends, instead of just trying to, just relish in himself about who he is. I guess, now that I'm saying this now, like thinking while talking, I guess I can understand why they put him in a cloak. I've just come to this realization. It's probably because of probably this very moment. Maybe they've made him really shy because he doesn't really know if he believes fully in himself if he only wants to support his own ego opposed to just um being with his friends, helping out Sally. Because, like, at the very beginning of the episode, we see them working together as a group, whereas, with the race, he's doing it more individually. Now, I know this is a very long-winded way to explain why I give it an A, but to me, this was the turning point that made me say, this is an incredible show. I'm going to watch this show, and I'm going to love this show for probably the rest of my life. So, A. I don't know
Okay.
what it is that gives it the minus. I'm sure there's something, but I'm just gonna go. I mean, not a minus, not the A plus, like the highest ranking, but just an A. Yes.
Okay. It meant a lot to you.
Yeah. No. I can't. I'm not just saying this because I want to give praise to the show or because I like Sally Acorn or whatever. But it's just, to me, it's like this was the moment that said this show has something that speaks to me in a way when it comes to like writing or whatever. And, yeah, sure. Again. I know I'm singing praise for a 90s cartoon show that probably wasn't considered very special at the time. But I will say also that media in general really, like, I guess, like, because there's no, like, people often say that media, there's no way to really prove that media makes you do something. Like, if you watch a violent video or you play a violent video game or you watch a violent movie, there's no way to really say that if people watch violent movies or play violent video games, them themselves will become violent. They'll become violent people. But the big old but with this one is that, media in general really does kind of, it really does influence your worldview about how you view the world, about how you view relationships, how you view, I don't know, personalities. Like, even like with Antoine, with his overly French, depiction. At that time, like, this is how we kind of viewed all French people, right? And
Stereotypes.
yeah, very much the stereotypes. Because, like, Antoine often says these things where he keeps saying "sacré bleu," which is like something that a French person never says, And I'm sure, like, French people probably, they groan at this kind of depiction. Like, I don't know what kind of depiction. I mean, I actually know. I do know there are some funny depictions of Americans in French culture where it's like they're always chewing bubble gum, and they all sound like Yankees from New York. But
Oh, there was a funny scene in Godzilla '98, so the first American Godzilla, where the main character, old Neat Totopoulos, has been kicked out of the research group by the army because his tape on Godzilla was stolen by his girlfriend, the reporter. So he gets picked up by old Jean Reno's French Secret Service team, and then so they sneak back in the city. They're all chewing gum, and when the military MP asks him, he just does kind of an Elvis impersonation,
okay.
and it's kind of like that's their view of Americans. Well, thank you very much. Just chew bubble gum and talk like a hick.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that was the depiction now. Now, probably if you mention who Elvis is, like, who the hell's that?
I I think enough people know who
All
Elvis
right,
is.
okay, all right. I mean, no. I
He's
live in
still the king.
Japan. What do I know? I mean, I don't know the decision America makes, and it's like cognitive dissonance with me in the U.S. now. So I don't get it anymore. Um, I do want to ask you though, before we move on, why do you give this episode a D? What is it that you really disliked about it?
Oh, I give it a C
Oh,
plus.
excuse me, not a D, a C plus. Why a C plus?
Um, it was fine. It was, for the most part, it was really, you know, it was a crafted episode, but I just, it didn't really jump out at me. I didn't really. It's kind of like, okay, solid. We did the little race archetype. Again, it's just one of those things where this franchise has done this story multiple times, and this isn't the best version of it.
Hmm. Okay.
That's just me. like I said, it's not a bad episode. It's just, you know, slightly above average.
It's so bad. There's ambulances in your area, picking up
You can hear that?
dead bodies. Yes, I can hear it.
Oh wow.
I'm
Okay,
just
wow.
kidding.
So
I
they're
wanted
coming to
I
get me
wanted
both.
the diegetic sound from your home into this episode somehow. Uh,
Oh, the
okay, so you
cops.
thought it was very tropey.
Tropey, but again, not necessarily bad. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's just kind of was what it was.
Okay, all right, that's fair. You'll hear my opinion of Sonic Harmonic now. Are you ready?
Oh yeah,
Let's dive in. All right,
to the
so
moon.
air date October 30th, 1993. Directed again by Dick Sebast. Written by David Villiers. I think that's how you say his name. Um, what is it? We talked about his pedigree in an early episode, so check that out there. I believe it was the Sonic and the MAGA stuff. Anyway, yeah, IMDb gives us a 6.0, so let's get into it. Our story begins with a bunch of unique robots entering a spaceship, or spy ship, as they say in the episode, ready for launch for the not Death Star, but the Spy Sky, as it's
I mean,
named.
the not Death Star, not Death Egg.
Yes, yeah, Death Egg. I've heard about that. Yeah, that's right. They do have a Death Egg. Oh boy.
Man, you're really forgetting some of the basics of Sonic games here, Radrey. I think you might need to
It's been a while.
play
It's
a
been a
little.
while.
You might want to play that Sonic Origins.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a funny plug. We're not actually sponsored. If we were,
Well, I hear
I'd take the money.
people have
Give me the money.
criticism about Sonic Origins, from what I hear.
Oh yeah, they do.
You're right. No, I should get back into it because SatAM doesn't. Well, actually, if you remember, people who are listeners who are in this third episode and you listen to the other ones, I remember what it is I wanted to say in that first episode. So maybe I'll say it at the end. Watch, I'm going to completely forget about it at the end. But anyway, I do have something to say about the games and related to SatAM, but we'll save that for the end. If I remember. Uh, try to remind me, Malzilla. All right, I'll give you a hint of what it is. Okay, so the concept, just so you remind me, the concept is why Sonic SatAM doesn't need to follow the games. That's my
Okay.
premise. Anyway, let's
Now,
get into
are
it.
we going to talk about this at the end of this episode, or like the very end of it all?
What do you think? What do you think would be a better choice? Would you think it would be better if after I see everything and I still have an opinion about? Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
not.
let's wait.
Let's do that. Let's do that. All right. Yes. Let's continue. So I want to point out these robots that go into this spaceship. Do any of these stick out to you? The only one for me is the mouth one. I don't know why, and I'm kind of curious where these inspiration for these designs came from, because obviously none of these robots are from the game, or at least I don't think they are.
Oh, they're not. They're not. They're just random '90s robot designs.
Like, I'm sort of wondering, like, where is it, like, the animators came up with these designs? Like, where did this come from? I mean, I could go into it, and I could probably look into it, but I don't know. I'd rather waste my time on, like, I don't know, something involving Sonic or Sally or something instead. But, yeah, so I figured I'd just ask you. All right, if you don't know, let's continue. So, also, there's a warms my metallic heart. So, we went from him having a heart to a metallic heart to not having a heart at all. We'll later find out. But yes. Oh, him being Robotnik, that is, if I didn't clarify that. So a solid rocket booster from the space launch leaves the spy ship after takeoff, only to land very close to a location in Knothole, causing Sonic and friends to wake up from their slumber. Sally correctly identifies both the rocket boosters and the spy ship, which gets Sonic to suggest using the booster to help with a power ring to charge it. This supercharging activity shows up on Robotnik's radar screen, making him to decide to launch a stealth bot to their area. With the help of Sally's tech, she discovers that the inevitable arrival of the stealth bot to Knothole will expose the secret location of where Sonic and friends are. Sally pulls the bell alarm for a town meeting to where Rotor and Sonic come up with a plan to dispose of the first incoming stealth bot. Then with some visual storytelling, our heroes use the booster to shoot both Rotor and Sonic inside up to the spy sky, and with no
The
plans,
spy egg.
spy egg, sure. Uh,
I mean,
with
they would have known. They would have known about it. Death Egg was in Sonic 2, and if they knew about Tails, they would have known about the Death Egg. So I'm just saying. I'm
uh,
just saying.
yeah, you're Super Saiyan. So with no plans or understanding how space works, they crash land the booster into the interior of the spy sky. They never talk about like the actual physics or how space works or any of this. They just kind of like thrust you into the story. But anyway, they get into the spy conveniently enough so that half the booster protrudes into it, and Sonic and Rotor exit from a round window on the booster because I guess they're round windows on boosters in this universe, and they are quickly discovered by a surveillance bot in the area. The surveillance bot then relays a video transmission to Robotnik, alerting everyone there of their presence. I want to point out we see 2 tentacle bots. Like one that's like a master of ceremonies, and one I don't think we ever see again. But yeah. What's it with tentacles, man? There's a lot of tentacles in this
most
episode.
anime fans have asked at least themselves once in it.
Well, this one especially. This one's like heavy tentacle. This is like tentacle analysts or whatever you call it. Tentacle City.
We know where
here.
this is headed. We know where this is headed.
This isn't even that
No
pornographic.
wonder Sally stayed home. She knew where it was going to happen.
I guess so.
She's like, I'm not having any of this.
Huh. Yeah, I guess maybe that's why they only had Rotor. Huh. That's a good point. I never thought of that. So, anyway, on the run, Sonic and Rotor continue to look for the main sensors, because this is their objective. As Sonic describes the town, where he comes up with an idea for a disguise to play in the not cantina as a guitar player. Loads of Star Wars references here.
Okay, now that we've been demonetized by Disney, but yeah, this episode, and we'll talk more in the post-mortem. But yeah, there's a lot of Star Wars, like more so than normal, and it is hilarious. And it again, we get back to sassy Sonic because like Sonic just like he walks in the dumbest robot disguise yet fools all of them, and just straight up has a music sound guitar off with this saxophone robot.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course his cover gets blown again. Sonic just starts he's defending his Mobius Player Hater of the Year award with the line of, you know what your problem is? Y'all ugly. They're about to beat him up and he's like, stop, wait, you know what your problem is? You're all ugly. And then he just runs off. It was hilarious.
Huh. I only wrote down the dialogue that stuck with me, but he says that, right?
He calls all the robots ugly, and
okay,
again,
that's right. He does. Yeah. Okay.
It's one of the famous, like, if you go on like Tumblr, like some of those, like, I don't know, maybe like top 5, top 10, like SatAM gifs that you see. It's like you're all ugly, and along with the Sonic getting high-fived by Sally Robot, or will you be serious for a minute? And he says 30 seconds is my limit. It's just so yeah.
I didn't know this line was that popular. Okay.
I've seen it around. It's not. It's popular enough, but it's not like the top 5.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I learned something today. I didn't know people like this line that much. I mean, it didn't stick with me, but then again, not to be, self-deprecating, but my opinion doesn't really matter all that too much as of right now, unless we have the biggest Sonic show in the world. And you know who can help us with that? Is the people who subscribe and, follow this channel and give us a like. I'm going to do that early call to action right here in the middle. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to follow us on all the social, media stuff. Anyway, I also want to say
Self plug.
yes. Um, I want to say that it's really funny that people say that Sally doesn't have any famous lines. Where like because when they're trying to like dunk on Sally or they don't like this character, and this is like one of their talking points. Where here clearly Sonic says, as Sal would say, "I have a plan." You know that made me feel warm, cozy. Like ooh, she does have lines to say. What are you talking about? I found it right here. Look at it. Um, I want to point out too that there's this one robot that has like double heads and saxophones for mouths. I think I'm not sure
Yeah, that
how
was
to.
that saxophone robot I was talking about.
Okay, I think that's Dan Castellaneta, or at least that sounds like him. That or it's
Yeah,
Charlie Adler. I think the one who does Snively's
I think
voice.
I could see it being Dan. It feels like a Dan.
It sounds like Dan, because like I don't know if you've ever watched Earthworm Jim, the cartoon show, but like he has that kind of like nasally, high pitched voice that this robot has. I mean, in supposedly he was Lazar in the Supersonic episode. Not for our listeners, Supersonic doesn't go supersonic. I don't know why it's called that. It's probably just alliteration, but yes. Sonic enters not Jabba's palace with the bar dwellers and robot musicians by drawing attention to himself in this disguise, as we said. He intervenes with the band currently playing with his guitar in hand to a tune that upsets one of the robots on stage, our Dan Castellaneta robot. And after some clever back and forth and bickering and wrestling, Sonic gets the robot to reveal the location of the main sensors. However, Sonic's disguise slips and the robot identifies he identifies him as a freedom fighter. Rotor and Sonic later then they escape, then fast forward a bit. Rotor and Sonic later find the main sensor tube outside Sky Spy. I guess characters in this universe can breathe in space or something, or they're not too high up in the stratosphere to where there's still oxygen or something. Because they clearly look like they go outside the spaceship here. I don't know if you noticed this, but
Yeah. It's like maybe I was overthinking. Like, maybe they're like in the high atmosphere where there's like still a bit of oxygen.
mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't
I
know.
don't know. Whatever. Don't think
I
about
don't
it too
think too
much.
hard about this.
Yeah,
I just roll with it.
yeah, and they throw the sensor, that one that Sonic says is really hot, deep inside a pit inside Sky Spy, disabling Robotnik's Spencer's gifts. No, sensors back at his base. Because of this, Robotnik calls back his stealth bot to return home. Back on Spy Sky, Sonic and Rotor leave the combusting spacecraft or space sphere. I don't know what you call this. In a
Spy
hover
egg.
unit. What?
The spy egg.
Spy egg. Okay, there you go.
It's not a Death Star and it's not a Death Egg. So it's a spy egg.
Yeah. Uh, fair enough. Call it whatever you like. I don't know what to call this thing. Then they leave in a hover unit, Independence Day style. Now, Independence Day came out in 95, so this predates that movie. But to me, this feels like Independence Day, man. Or at least the way they're leaving. Like, oh no, there's a hover unit. Rotor, do you know how to fly this thing? Like, I don't know. It's all alien to me. I'll maybe if I just push this, I don't know if you got this from watching this, but that's what it made me think. So all I can say is SatAM did it first, or some cheesy 90s alien movie probably did it first or something. But I found this scene to be the most fun part of the entire episode. But we'll get into that more later after we finish. Sonic and Rotor crash land back in Knothole to meet a welcoming Tails and alarm Sally, saying that the precariously floating Spy Sky could be hitting Knothole soon. So after some critical thinking and the use of their telescope, Sally concludes that they need to use Rotor's super magnet. Do they use a super magnet in the Archie comic? I want to feel like they did during the Gallagher era, like the gag
They
era.
probably did it. There was probably some super magnet that popped up in the gag area for sure.
Okay. So, then Rotor and Sonic arrive at the crater to pull in Spy Sky with their Acme-sized magnet to bring it down to Mobius. It explodes, Robotnik seethes again, and Sally congratulates Sonic and a small group of freedom fighters. The episode ends with Rotor revealing his latest invention, a quill styler, especially for hedgehogs. Sally playfully berates him for his new hairdo. Sonic looks in the mirror and is not impressed and screams. And, these are screams of Sonic's displeasure, and they're heard deep outside the city of Knothole. End of
Fun fact:
episode. Fun fact?
that haircut was actually in Sonic 2, the movie, when
Is,
Sonic was
is it
styling his
really?
hair.
Okay.
Yeah, if you like look at it, because it's all like kind of like a weird, everyone jokes about his like mohawk quill, but they're all kind of pushed up. So when we see Sonic doing his little dance when Tom and Maddie are in Hawaii, he starts like gelling up his quills.
Oh, yeah.
One of them.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't see that connection, but okay. Yeah, maybe I'll check it out later. So, Malzilla, your review, letter grade.
I'm gonna give this a B plus, and
Wow.
this episode is really
Wow.
weird. It's
Okay.
it's it's really weird, and for some reason, it's memorable to me. It's like it's so out there. It's like, yes, Rotor and Sonic are going into space. It's like, okay, that's kind of weird, kind of dumb, but it's like, here we're gonna go up into this weird like wannabe Death Star, wannabe Death Egg, little like space high altitude observation thing that it's like fully manned by all these robots that look nothing like Robians or SWAT bots. Just, and again, you get the weird tentacle thing from like the trash compactor. It's like it's such a hodgepodge of things, but yet it's still like I'm still having a good time. It's like, Sonic goes in and has his little, music off with the saxophone guy. And then he gets the line of, "You're all ugly," and it's just hilarious. I found it hilarious in the fact that it's like, oh yeah, if something that big fell to Earth, there'd probably be some like atmospheric issues.
Oh
But they're
yeah.
like,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, they don't
And
have
like,
time. They don't have time to talk about that. So.
yeah, so again, it's a guilty pleasure for me.
All right. Well, I give the episode. I'm gonna give it a D plus. I
Okay, yeah, I
did
was gonna say you
not.
didn't like this one.
I did not like this episode. To me, it's like I was watching this one and I'm like, oh God, when will it be over? When will it be finished? It's like, why aren't they going to space? Why are they doing this? And luckily, the rewatch when I was writing up the script, it wasn't so bad. It got me to like focus on the little minute details that they added into it. I didn't really enjoy it, but I did enjoy kind of writing in the minute details to see if there's anything I'd missed. But if
But you
there's
did.
what?
You said you did miss that, the Death Egg illusion.
Yeah, well, it's probably it just goes to show how much I was not interested in this episode.
That's
Maybe
fair.
what they should have done, upon your suggestion, they should have had Sally go with them. I would have enjoyed it a lot better, probably.
Hey, hey, hey.
All right, people out there who write Sonic professionally, you heard it here. Remake this episode, but with Sally Acorn in it. All right, so without further ado, let's dive into Hooked on Sonics. Air date November 6, 1993. Directed again by Dick Sebast. This time written by Randy Rogel. Best known as a writer for Animaniacs from 93 to 98 with 85 episode writing credits.
This makes sense that he wrote this. 'Cause
Okay.
this is an Antoine episode. And yeah, as we know, Antoine was voiced by the great, oh God, I forgot his
Rob
voice actor.
Paulson.
Oh, Ron Paulson. Of course, he was Yakko in the Animaniacs. So,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, other credits include Batman, the animated series from 92 to 94, with 9 episode credits, writing credits, and Hysteria, if you remember that show. That was kind of a fun show back then. Didn't run very long. From 98 to 99, with 6 episode writing credits.
it's funny, like Hysteria, Animaniacs, Tiny Toons, Freakazoid. they were all some like Steven Spielberg had some, deal with Warner Brothers where he had to make like three shows, and like Tiny Toons was like the first one, you know, Pinky and the Brain. Well, that was kind of a spin-off. But like Hysteria was one of them, and that was just they wanted to, they basically like, let's do some kind of historical variety show, and that was basically what they did.
I liked it. I don't know. I remember enjoying it. Probably I watch it now and be like, man, this is dated. But I don't know. So is Freakazoid, but I still love fucking Freakazoid.
Hysteria is amazing.
Yeah, I have it on DVD, and I will treasure that thing the rest of my life.
I do
Anyway,
remember one joke from Hysteria. It was the Julius Caesar episode,
okay.
and someone hands him a milk, like a Slurpee milkshake, and he says, he's like, "What's this?" He's like, "It's orange, Julius." And I kind of laughed because it was a pun. For
Oh, after
those
the
who don't
store.
know, or
Yeah.
yeah,
Or not the
there
store,
was an
the
old mall stuff called Orange Julius's,
Is that
which
place
made like
gone?
smoothies, and I think so. I mean, probably just because you know malls are pretty much no longer a thing. So coasters, if there's an Orange Julius near you, take a picture and post it in the Discord. See if it still exists. The Orange Julius challenge.
Hmm. I haven't been to one of those in ages if they're still around. I recall seeing one in the mall when I was in Colorado, when I was there last. I don't know. I think they're still in business. This is an easy Google question, but I don't want to do it. I'll do it till after we're done. I'll do it when I'm editing the episode. Anyway, IMDb gives this a 6.9. I think it's our
Yeah,
best
9.
highly rated episode so far today. But anyway, our episode begins with a giant spider crab looking robot known as the Shredder cutting down trees in the
Yeah.
Great Forest. Yeah, yeah, because they need to have some TMT fans involved, because they need that TMT money. Yeah, he's in the Great Forest controlled by Snively. Sonic speeds in, suddenly putting Snively and the SWAT bots in full alert. Sonic, in the most cavalier way, lets the robots eyeball him, and which Sally, who is also with Bunny and Antoine, gives him the goo-goo eyes from the tree ledge above. Antoine groans at Sally's wooing of Sonic, thinking he's acting more like a fool than a hero.
Is she simping? Is
What?
Sally simping for Sonic?
Oh yeah,
Do you
definitely
think
hard.
yeah, she's
This
simping hard, folks.
Yeah, but there's no money in Sonic universe, so she can't, send any money to him, like on Twitch or anything. Uh,
She gives him a daily ring. You know, she
well,
gets
there's
the
only one way to
rings,
get
the
rings.
power
You
ring.
you have to get it from the Lake of Rings. Isn't that?
Well, technically, she's the princess, so she like owns Knothole. So maybe,
That's
yeah,
true.
maybe that's.
That's true.
Uh.
A princess has her needs. Yeah. Um. So, a Shredder. By the way, I want to point out Shredder Bot does actually appear in Archie, issue 14. So
Oh, there you
this is the one time when I've noticed it. I've seen this thing before, and yeah, this is the only time we see it again. I believe. Then in a very Empire Strikes Back way, here we go, Star Wars again. Sonic goes underneath the giant Shredder Bot to make it get entangled in its own legs using its eye cable. And the freedom fighters from afar cheer as Sonic's ingenuity and cleverness they cheer about his cleverness and ingenuity in this very moment. The robot collapses and it explodes. Cut to
the old AT-AT Walker maneuver.
yes. Oh
That's
yeah,
made,
there we go. I had to Google what that thing was called. AT-AT.
all-terrain armored transport.
God damn, man, you
AT-AT.
remember that? It's like,
Okay, so let me Star Wars tangent.
all right, go ahead.
Long time ago in a year 25 years ago, I forget if this is the name. Star Wars had kind of a command and conquer game. I think it was called like Galactic Battlegrounds or something. And you had a faction, Yeah, it was pretty much right after Phantom Menace. So this is probably like 2000, 2001, or maybe 2002, where you had like a Command and Conquer, like you had the Naboo, you had Gungans, you had Rebels, you had the Trade Federation, and you had kind of the Republic, and then you had the Empire. And like each army, had focus on different things like um, you know, yeah, it was just like certain, factions had different specialities. Like the rebels were really good with starfighters, but they were like crappy with, troops. Whereas like the Empire was decent with troops, crappy with starfighters, but their biggest ones were their mechs. And their big mech was the AT-AT, and they had they had entire missions dedicated to the AT-AT where you would hang out with, General Veers, if you remember him from the movies, played by Christian Glover, who was also in Indiana Jones as the chief bad guy Donovan and Maester Pycelle in Game of Thrones. So, where you do all this research to basically turn the AT-ATs into these were the most powerful unit they had. They would just wreck shop. Like if you built like 10 of them, you would win the game. Because they had
Okay.
you could like they had an ability where they could because normally since it's like artillery, you have to be like a certain distance for it to like hit. So if you could get like a person up close, it could wreck it. But they had this ability where basically it eliminated its like how far it could like the minimum distance it could shoot. So it could
Mm-hmm.
basically hit anything that could reach it. So it was pretty dope. That was my Star Wars lore minute. So
Okay. Wow. All right. I mean, it's funny like when people talk about Star Wars. I was talking to Craig Stitt, the creator of Oil Ocean. Not the creator of it. He was the one who did the artwork for Oil Ocean Zone and Hidden Palace and the first level for Sonic Spinball, the Toxic Caves. And he was telling me, he said, "Yeah, no, I'm so into Star Wars. I'm at the point of like I'm in the get a life phase where like I'm counting the buttons or the little seals on a stormtrooper's armor to figure out how to recreate it." So I mean, this is how deep Star Wars goes into American culture. Probably, I don't know about the rest of the world. I don't know about England or other places, but yeah, you can tell it went pretty damn deep into American culture that it even shows up in our Sonic media. Just continuing on. Cut to nighttime. Sonic toots his own horn while standing on a tree stump in the middle of Knothole to the surrounding cheering freedom fighters. Sally then, what I can only describe as a hard suck kiss, kisses
yeah,
Sonic on the cheek. Uh,
the suck.
Yeah, it's a real suck here. I mean, like you could like freeze frame it at like any point. You'll see that is a hard suck. I'm like, man, the animators like worked extra time to like make sure that suck was like a suck.
Sally puts the suck in succubus.
I guess so. Uh,
Oh boy.
Sonic gets overwhelmed by this, and then he deep kisses Sally in front of everyone for.
Well, no. Here's how it goes. It's like she kisses him. He kind of goes goo goo, and then he like pops back. He's like, "Oh, that was okay," and she's like, "Okay," and he's like, "Just okay." And then she says, "Oh, like you can do better." So of course, Sonic giving the invitation does the whole little dip kiss, thinking
I would
he's
describe this as a
Casanova.
deep kiss, but yeah, like he does dip with her,
Dip.
but
He dipped. He dipped her. Like he dipped her down. Like it kind of looked a little bit like their kiss in Archie issue 50, or maybe that was just the director's cut. I
no, it was
digress.
the director's cut. I remember. I
That's
remember
right.
that vividly. But yes.
Yeah, that was a panel that was like burnt into my brain. I will never forget that issue.
Oh, you and me both. It's like that's one thing I remember about the Archie series. It's that picture. But anyway. Um Yeah, he does this in front of everyone. Tails is disgusted, and Sally is bashfully amused by this. Because she's kind of hot and bothered by him. I guess I don't
But then
know.
she kind of like tries to play it off that it was just okay when she was into it.
Okay.
She was into it. She was excited. It is really kind of funny if I can tangent.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, just to see how Sonic has just how character portrayal of him has evolved over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone like, oh, because again, as we with the generations coming out and people being upset that Sonic is, Amy's infatuation with Sonic is being toned down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But Sonic has always never been like he's never really like reciprocated. I mean, he's hugged back and but he's never been like in any version. He's never really been as amorous with Amy as he was with
Oh
Sally.
no, yeah, you never. I mean, this is why probably Amy fans are seething over this very
Yeah,
moment.
sorry, Amy fans. We're just kind of, you know, speaking the truth. He knocked up Sally twice, but
Especially in
yeah,
Archie. Yes,
yeah, Archie. That's just kind of I was making a
it's not even like it's not even subtle. It's there. You know.
oh yeah. So ah, it is interesting to see Sonic, and not because like I remember in like Adventures of like when they did the Breezy episode. He kind of simped for Breezy and kind of that cartoon, you know, goo goo eyes, hard eyes way, you know, kind of Tex Avery, if you will. But
Mm-hmm.
this is like, SatAM and Sonic. He was like it was a mutual. They were, there was heart in it. It wasn't, wasn't played for comedy. That sometimes it was, but it's like, nah, dude, he was into it.
Oh yeah, well, and it all started here, or maybe it didn't. I don't know. Let's move on. So yeah. So, however, Antoine is so annoyed that he breaks the fourth wall and says, "All right, tell me anything that fuel have not, I do not." I'm not sure if I'm reading that right. I tried to write down word for word, but some of these like French isms was a little hard to like transcribe here. Um, I mean, I don't remember this much kissing in like a 90s show back then. Was there more? Were there other shows that had kissing like this?
Not that I remember.
I can't remember any of them. Like thinking, what did I watch as a kid? Let's see. SWAT Cats, Sewer Sharks,
Peace
um,
Arch.
TMT. No, I don't remember any of that. Uh, what is it? The Dark Crystal Show, or not Dark Crystal, the Dark Water, whatever it was called. I watched
Pirates of
that.
Dark Water.
Yeah, Hearts of Dark Water. Yeah, I don't remember any of this. I mean, I guess this is the only show where I got it from. And you wonder why everybody's furries after this episode. Anyway, so then we go to Rotor, waiting by the Lake of Rings, as Antoine enters the scene, expressing his annoyance with Sonic. Then there's some back and forth with Rotor about what a fuel is. I guess this is like is like fuel. Okay, I want to interject. Is that kind of like maybe you remember during was it 2017, 2018, like when Trump tweeted like cafefe on accident, which is obviously a you know a mistype, right? Is this sort of like like only a few people know what a fuel is? I'm sure
Well, again,
I know it's a throwaway gag, but to me it's like the way he says it, like it makes it sound like it's more than just a fool. But anyway.
they're playing up the whole thing with the accent and that he's calling Sonic a fool, but with his little French thing, it's fuel. You
Okay.
fuel.
All right. Is there ever in-universe explanation in Archie that says why Antoine is French or why he speaks with an accent?
Um, uh, yes,
There
and
is.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. Like I said, I think I mentioned this before. Is that like in the post boot, they specifically say that because I think I forget if they went rename. He went back to Depardieu, but I think he was still de Coulette. They talked about that the Coulettes were from Spagonia.
Mm-hmm.
So Spagonia in the Sonic verse is kind of your Central Western Europe.
Okay.
comparison.
Okay.
And then in the pre-boot, they kind of imply that his family is originally from Mercia, which is kind of again the Western Europe, you know, analogy of, Sonic, because his dad was the sheriff of Snottingham
Mm-hmm.
for a bit when he was roboticized.
Right.
So, it's essentially that, his family probably is from that neck of the woods, and that's probably a regional dialect over there. Again, it's just kind of call it Mobian European, if you will.
Okay. All right. I learned something today, or I think I knew this, or I don't know
Oh,
why I
we
have to.
talked about it
I don't know
before.
why I always have to keep reminding myself of like why I forget these tidbits, but I guess they're not that important to me. I'm not like an Antoine lore historian. I'm definitely not. I'm not too interested in this character, but anyway, uh. Antoine then utters the words, "The princess, she doesn't even noticing I'm alive." And Rhoda responds with, "Well, Sonic is a tough act to follow. You'd have to do something major to get Sally's attention." I want to point out that the way this scene is put together is kind of interesting because even though like it's just Rhoda and Antoine talking, they use like these wide shots of them to like kind of show how alone they are, waiting near the lake of rings. I'm actually quite impressed with the way they put this scene together because it could have been very boring. They could have just like done close-ups and just have the two of them talking, or just have them in one shot. But they kind of like played around with it a little bit to kind of uh, do some like a little extra storytelling with like the camera work here. But I just want to point that out. Then Rotor then jokes that maybe he should capture Robotnik and bring him back to Knothole. So, yeah. Obviously, if you haven't figured it out yet, this is an Antoine episode. Get your hazmat suits on. um, so yeah, then Antoine then deduces that since he's near the Lake of Rings, that maybe he could make Rotor's plan come to fruition by using a power ring to bait Robotnik. Later, a sleeping Antoine, who is awoken by a ring as it surfaces, he fishes out the ring from the lake with a stick and goes to Robotropolis to go get in contact with Robotnik. I want to add, too, I do really like how well paced this episode is. I don't have any problem with the pacing. I don't feel like, oh, man, get out of the spy sky, man. What are we doing here? Why are we having these extra conversations? I'm not having that conversation with myself. So, with the help of the surveillance orb, Antoine stutters and announces to Robotnik, oh, yeah, he entered, Robotropolis. I think, did I skip some part? Oh, no. He goes to he went to Robotropolis. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. He sees Robotnik and he wants to meet him outside of the city limits in 1 hour if he wants his power ring, the one that he took from the Lake of Rings. So Snively alerts all SWAT bots to Antoine's area, but Antoine then demands that no SWAT bots should be joining him if he wants the ring. He does this while he fumbles with the ring in his hands. We then return to Knothole, and Sonic arrives at the Lake of Rings for his power ring his time for Power Ring Watch, as he berates Antoine while trying to find him. Sonic then finds the remnants and the residue of a power ring in the area, and Sonic then recites the best line of the episode: "I think we got an ant problem."
Mm.
I'm waiting for like a or something. All right, so I guess I'm not getting any of those sound effects. We don't have a soundboard. So cut to the city limits where Robotnik on his hover unit, Red Edition, arrives asking Antoine why he betrays his friends. Antoine responds with, "Take this and you'll understand." This, of course, leads Robotnik into a pit trap cleverly hidden by Antoine. Antoine then boasts about his plan, about a now trapped Robotnik, but before he can pat himself on the back too much, Robotnik rocket shoe boosts. This is the only way I can explain this. His way out of the hole to a terrified Antoine. The flying Robotnik then laser beams him into submission, where Robotnik grabs the power ring out of Antoine's hand. Cut back to Sally, Bunny, Rotor, and Sonic, where Sonic reveals the tree branch with the power ring residue to the others, saying that Antoine probably fished out a power ring and used it for something. Rotor then groans. Rotor, Robotnik, same guy. That actually happens in one Archie issue, but anyway, I digress. Rotor then groans and admits that Antoine probably took his joke about capturing Robotnik seriously. Now, I want to point out this one piece of dialogue right here that just made me crack up. This is like a 30-year-old show. And I'm still finding some of the jokes funny. Well, I guess, which is good. I love how Sally in this scene is like, Sonic, he could be in danger. And Sonic's like, so? And in response, Sally says, so? He would come after you if you were in trouble. But then the lines get better. And then there's this long, awkward silence. And then after Sally's statement, Sally just says, okay, maybe not. I mean, this sort of reminds me of like that Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode where like Homer shoots zombie Flanders and like, Dad, you just shot zombie Flanders. And Homer's like, Flanders was a zombie? I mean, this sort of also reminds me too, like another Simpsons reference where like, it's one of those like, nobody likes Milhouse, right? He's like the butt of the joke. That's like the entire show. But it's like, it comes from a person that you would least expect to like show bravery, in a situation where, it's too stupid for him to come up with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Sally then comes to the conclusion that if Sonic doesn't get the power ring, Antoine, he does. Yeah, if he doesn't get the power ring and Antoine, the power ring and Antoine back, Robotnik could discover the secrets of the power ring. I want to point out that Sonic says he's the only one who could use power rings. I mean,
he's mentioned it a couple times before in the season.
Oh, yeah. Wait, you said I have or he has?
He has. I think back in the pilot or
right.
About it. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm pointing it out again because to me, this is kind of an interesting lore concept for the show. And for Sonic in general, I mean, since in IDW there are no power rings for some reason, I don't understand why.
That's a Sega thing.
What?
That's a Sega thing.
It's a Sega thing. All right, Sega. What's your problem?
If you listen to the Bumblecast, which y'all should, it's entertaining. People have asked Ian multiple times why the rings don't exist, and he says, according to Sega, they are just a game mechanic. They're just there for the game. So.
No, I think this is a Japan problem. Sometimes they come up with these weird ideas. I mean, not the distance
that's
myself.
What I'm saying. This is a Japan Sega. This is a mandate or a guideline or a.
I don't get it, man. It's just sort of like it's like what is it? I remember we were talking again, going back to my interview with Craig Stitt. He was doing some game. I can't remember which one it was. I want to say it was Knights, but I don't think it was that because I don't think he worked on that one. But there was a scene, or there was like one, there was something that they were making where they gave the characters like purple hair or like blue hair, or not blue hair. They gave them blue eyes. That's what it was. If I go back to the episode itself, and they complained about like blue eyes are going to scare people. We shouldn't have blue eyes. And they're like, people have purple hair in this game, or they have green hair. Like, why would they get scared of blue eyes? Maybe it's a cultural thing. They're just like, they can't have it. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I don't understand their decisions. Let's move on. Sonic acquiesces with Sally's statement, and Bunny reminds us that there will not be another power ring for 24 hours. Hello, Captain Plot Device. Well, I mean, it works. It works for this episode. Sometimes it's good to have plot devices because it keeps the plot going and the story moving. Otherwise, we're just sitting around, having character moments, which can be fun, but they do get tiring. Especially since this is an Antoine episode, I don't think we want too many character moments. So, Sonic comes to the conclusion that he'd have to defeat Robotnik this time without one. It's sort of like the Supersonic episode, or Marble Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 1 without Sonic speed, right? Because if you remember Marble Zone, that was the zone where the creators wanted to make a
Level
level.
2.
Yeah, level
Level
2,
2.
where the creators wanted to make it a level where Sonic didn't use his speed to get through everything. I mean, the more I think about that, the more I kind of hate that idea. A
You know,
slow Sonic.
it's one of those things where it's like I really don't have enjoyment playing the OG Sonic game anymore because I think the levels are just the game is like it's hard to play Sonic 1 for me after playing Sonic 2 because Sonic 2 just everything so much better.
Yeah.
Control wise, level design wise. Because again, the whole thing Sonic's supposed to be fast, and while you can have some precision platforming in it, where for some players who might need to like slow down to focus, it's like doing an entire level of just waiting and jumping, and it's not Sonic.
Yeah. Uh. So anyway, moving on. I agree. I agree. By the way. Um. So back at Robotnik's HQ, he reveals that the machine he was working on earlier was a radar. We see later early in the episode. So he uses the power ring from Antoine to track things traveling at supersonic speed. This allows him to fire a gigantic laser directly from his area, and its precision is almost perfectly, and it's almost perfect enough to hit Sonic. As Sonic arrives from Robotropolis, he becomes Antoine's literal Deus Ex Machina and saves him from becoming a worker bot. It's here where Antoine reveals that a new Shredder bot is currently in the Great Forest again, wreaking havoc. I want to point out, so this is the thing I was talking about earlier. I'm very surprised by how Sonic is rather forgiving and altruistic. I mean, he saves Antoine and he doesn't even hold a grudge here. And I don't know if that's only because of with timing of this episode. I don't know if it's because of that, because they don't have time to do oh, you lied to me, sort of trope. Not like A Bug's Life. Like, I don't know if you ever watched The Nostalgia Critic, and like he really hates like A Bug's Life, like it's like the liar reveal. Um,
Yeah.
uh, but I guess this is only my real major gripe with this episode is there's no it doesn't really feel earned, or maybe that's what they wanted with the character, to always be forgiving and altruistic. I'm a little conflicted about how I feel about this, but maybe that's sort of what I need to sort of view Sonic as the Sonic X, where he's always very, altruistic, and he's kind of like this, again, like this angel of a character.
Yeah. I'll get more into my thoughts on the end.
All right. Okay. Well, we're getting there. As Sonic approaches with Antoine riding on his back, he figures out how to dodge Robotnik's laser. In frustration, Robotnik switches to proton mode, but it's too late for him, and the laser destroys his new Shredder bot in the process. However, unfazed by this, Robotnik gleefully knows that Sonic is surrounded by him and his SWAT bots. But luckily, Antoine knows that there is in fact a power ring in the radar laser weapon that Sonic can use to escape with. With the help of his super speed and now acquired a power ring, Sonic gets Robotnik to shoot his own radar machine, and the two of them, Sonic and Antoine, leave back for Knothole. Robotnik seethes again, and the episode ends with Sonic and Antoine talking about how their adventure went to the rest of the Freedom Fighters in an open area Knothole. Yet, the joke here being Antoine telling most of the story, prompting every Freedom Fighter to slowly leave because they find his storytelling to be too much of a rambling embellishment. Antoine, nonetheless, doesn't care and tells the rest of it with pride and honor. End of episode. So, Malzilla, thoughts, letter grade, go.
What you think of Harmonic Sonic is what I think of this episode.
Fair.
I did not enjoy it. It was just like, for me, this was just kind of like, okay,
Like a
let's
Jar
speed
Jar
things
Binks
up.
episode or something?
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
a bad Jar Jar Binks episode.
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like Antoine is not a bad character by any stretch of the imagination. He's one of those characters that's actually fun to see him grow as a character. They really don't do much with him in SatAM. He kind of, again, if the series had continued, it would have been interesting to see what they would have done with him down the line. But this whole episode, it, we talk about altruistic, Sonic, and just to me, there's almost a lack of consequences
Okay.
because of the stunt that Antoine pulls. Because so
Yo,
one
yeah,
of
okay,
my
I agree with that. I do agree with that.
so like let me throw this there because it's kind of funny. One of my quasi beefs of the early Archie days, especially between 25 and 50, is they pull the Sonic is a traitor plot line like twice within like 3 issues of one another,
Mm-hmm.
and it just feels like oh, which in both cases he didn't do it. Like so, fun little Archie tangent. So, one of the most beloved early Archie stories was Mecha Madness. Now, the plot for Mecha Madness was that Sonic was roboticized and was sent out to attack the Freedom Fighters. He kicked their ass you know, for just all intents purposes, kicked their butt.
Right.
Um, and to do that, they had to they had to roboticize Knuckles to fight him, and
Right. I remember.
technically Knuckles won, though he kind of made the comment that he thinks Mecha Sonic was pulling his punches, otherwise he probably would have been destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And Sonic is with his 1 billionth ring, tchotchke magic, he's
Oh yeah, I
restored.
forgot about that. Yeah, that's right.
But like right after the end, they throw him in jail for treason. So the whole
Yeah.
point, so the lead up to that is that they had jerry rigged a roboticizer, but they also had kind of this neuron canceller where basically if you wore it, and they did a couple they did like a issue with it with Sally getting roboticized too at one point earlier, was that if you wore this little headband and were roboticized, you would retain your free will. You wouldn't be a robotic slave. So it's basically kind of like a little power up. So
Mm-hmm.
basically what they did that with Knuckles, they gave it to Knuckles, he jumped in, got roboticized, fought Mechasonic, and then jumped back into their porta thing and got deroboticized. So like Sonic's was at like a meeting, and he said, we have this technology, give it to me, I'll go get faked roboticized or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and I can wreck Robotnik. Was surprised. That was basically what his thing. They
Mm-hmm.
said no. Sally said no, and Sonic kind of stomped off, and he went to his apartment, where he got kind of Knack, as he was called, Fang as we know him now, had jerry rigged a Looney Tunes dumbbell. So when Sonic opened the door, a dumbbell fell and hit him on the head.
Right. I remember
So
that. I remember that
Fang,
issue.
yeah. So Fang takes him to Robotnik, and then Robotnik roboticizes him. So that's why he turns into Mechasonic. So at the end of it, they have it's kind of some serious plot lines, and then they go to like the Gallagher art, you know. So it's kind of a jokey episode where they throw Sonic in jail because they think he's betrayed them.
Mm-hmm.
Now he gets 24 hours to find Knack Fang and bring him in. Then they forgive him. They do this whole trial thing. They got like these two kangaroos doing, the jury. Sally's in her like royal getup, and you know, Bunny's like the bailiff. She's got her arm turned into like a saw blade, which
Mm-hmm.
trying to and Amy Rose is around, and she's like, "Free Sonic, free Mandela, free Sonic, free Mandela." Again, '90s jokes, and ultimately, Sonic proves his innocence, and Sally says, "Hey, let me get everyone. I'll issue a full-on, apology, yada yada." And he says, now let's move on. He's like, okay. Of course, then they do the whole thing later with, Endgame, Sally. Oh, Sonic killed Sally. It's like, dude, we just did this story like 5 issues ago. Why are we doing it again? But again, it's this thing where Antoine in this episode basically gave a power ring to Robotnik.
Mm-hmm.
Like he basically committed treason to them. He basically was a traitor.
That is
Now,
true. I guess I didn't think about that. Yes.
maybe I'm definitely overanalyzing these things. So
No, 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 no.
I
That is
totally,
perfectly fair. That's very
I,
fair.
yeah. So it's like, yes, he had this plan. It was a selfish plan to begin with, because really, Sally has shown no interest in Antoine at all.
No.
And and we're gonna get to an episode, and next time where someone does come in with and Sally kind of reciprocates some feelings,
Oh
not
yeah.
necessarily from Antoine or Sonic.
Oh yeah.
We'll see you soon, Griff. But Sally is always someone who I think I don't know if I forget if they did this in Archie. It's like I feel like Sally would just go up to Antoine and tell her, "Hey, I don't have feelings for you this way." Now,
Uh-huh.
yeah, they tried. She quasi, she actually did end up marrying evil Antoine for like
Mm-hmm.
a day. And that
Right.
got annulled, but that was much later down the line. But yeah, it's just like I feel like you know sh he's kind of more of a brother to her than Elias was because she's known him for so long,
Right.
and it's just kind of a case of like I totally see her just kind of going up to it, like, hey, your admiration, infatuation with me is flattering. I just don't see you that way. Like, I feel like she wouldn't string someone along, especially as she's interested in Sonic. So I feel like Antoine's whole thing, like, haha, ho ho ho, I will do something incredibly brave and dangerous and stupid. Give this secret power to our enemy in a vain attempt to. Now, to Antoine's credit, the fact that he got Robotnik into the pit, give him some credit for that. But it's like, Robotnik's like, yeah, I got jet boots. Deal with it.
No, I've never thought of about that before. You are absolutely correct. I mean, yes. I mean, that does change my opinion about this episode now. He did commit
Because again,
treason.
he tried to pull like the kind of it was a plan. It was in the right place. It's like, hey, I'm gonna go do if I'll do this, I'll capture Robotnik. I'll be the hero. Very selfish plan. Even though it was a good, it was for good reasons. It was still selfish. And to add insult to injury, Sally basically told Sonic to rescue him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you did something like, would you, I mean, obviously they want the power ring back,
Right.
but quite frankly, keep the power ring. Maybe leave Antoine. That's a little harsh, and Antoine does know where Knothole is. So just if you bring him back, you would have to at least throw him in the brig, if not exile him,
Yeah.
because it's like you just did something. Sally has never once let him on.
Yeah,
For a short
that's
time.
bad leadership skills from Sally there. I do agree with this.
Now again, kids cartoon, 30-minute
Yeah,
story,
hand wave it
totally
away.
understand.
Yeah.
We'll hand wave it away. I get that, but like it's funny when apples to apples, Archie to SatAM. It's like now again, comics you can kind of roll with these plots a little bit longer and kind
Mm-hmm.
of further develop them, but still, it's like he fucked up. Antoine
No, he
fucked
really did.
up
He really did.
and
That is a
had
perfectly
no
fair
consequence,
argument. Yeah.
no consequences. Where if Sonic, not mine, Sonic's fucked up plenty of times, and he's owned up to it. But sometimes, he's been, held accountable for things he didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
To like, we're gonna throw you in prison,
Yes.
or whatever. And it's like, because again, for about 10 minutes, Robotnik had a power ring, and he had a radar that basically forced Sonic to go into Metal Gear Solid mode.
Mm-hmm.
Like we saw in Supersonic with, Lazar's little, "Hi, your speed is mine."
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow. Okay, I never thought about this, but all right. So is that all you had to say, or is there more?
Um, I'll give it,
You mean your letter grade?
I'll be honest with it. Like I said, this episode isn't my cup of tea. You did mention some good pacing. It's a very paint by numbers, but I would definitely say, um, throw me, put me. I'd say it's like a C minus, a low C minus, or a high D
Wow.
plus.
Okay. Wow. You don't go to D though, huh?
Uh, I'd have to really look into it, but again, uh, some of my discretions with it are more on the nitpicky side, and I
Okay.
don't try to hold nitpicks against episodes just because I kind of put
No,
it.
I would say that's perfectly fair. I mean, sure, you're right. It is a nitpick, but I mean, if you wanted to take the show like at face value, this is kind of a major sticking point, and like it kind of really degrades the writing of the episode itself. So you've made me change my letter grade in real time. I'll tell you that
Oh
much.
wow, I made enough of a
I never
impact.
thought about that, but yes, you are correct. Well, should I go through my analysis or?
Go for it. Go for it.
All right. Well, I was
You're
gonna give the
you're
episode an
pretty
A. I
well.
was gonna give the episode an A, but I'm gonna downgrade to a B plus now because of that very fact. Because I did really find Antoine's story interesting. I thought that he kind of had an arc. This was like a good step for him to like stop being a coward and going into entering like a new phase of his life, or entering in the more
He
macho
did
and like
show
respectable
initiative.
person. What?
He showed initiative. He came up with a plan. It was just really half baked and for all the wrong reasons.
Oh yeah. And so I did find this kind of fascinating, like where you have this character who's kind of seen as a buffoon, who's kind of an idiot. And I love
If
people
you will.
who yeah, I love people who are, these people who are down on their luck, and they're trying to improve themselves. So I did kind of really enjoy watching, Antoine try to improve himself. I always like watching characters who are just dumbasses try to like get better, because I find that so relatable. So, and I found the pacing of it to be fine, and it wasn't like a Jar Jar Binks moment to where I could see him being annoying and like him having character moments that would take people out of the show. But to me, it was enough of like saying, in given real life, there are real people who have issues or mannerisms or things about them that like are just, not very attractive. And, I'm always willing to give somebody another chance. And I felt like this episode was a good example of, giving another character another chance. But I did enjoy it. But that one little tidbit that you throw in there, it does change my opinion about it a lot. And that's all I have to say about that.
A rare moment of a changing of an actual opinion. It can happen, folks. It can happen.
Yeah, I mean, I like
Uh,
the episode, but for that reason, yeah, I'm with you. All right, thus concludes our analysis of SatAM, these 3 episodes. And if you tell us what you think, you agree, you disagree, be sure to let us know. Be sure to follow us in the Discord down below. Malzilla, anything you want to add?
um, we'll probably wrap up season 1 next time. There's only 4 episodes left, so we'll probably get that squared away.
All right. Did you want to do what is it? A season 1 wrap up, or do you want to just do a series wrap up?
I'm fine either way. What would you like to do, Radrey?
Whichever. I guess it depends on down the line of how I'm feeling, but we'll get there when we get there. How about that?
Works for me.
All
Works for
right
me.
then. So yes. So all the connections, all the buttons, all the things to touch. We really do need your help, growing the show. Tell us what you like. We do like hearing from you. Engaging with people on the internet is very hard because, number one, I can't see you, so I don't know how you're consuming this episode. If you got this far, you're awesome. I will. If you're ever in Tokyo, I will buy you a drink. I'll treat you out to lunch. I'll show you around. Be happy to talk to you. I'll buy you manga. I'll wash your dogs. I'll do anything you want. Well, no, not anything. That's not true. But but pretty much, yes, we do enjoy the people who take the time out of their day to listen to the show, and they enjoy what we have to say. So I'm going to turn off the Malzilla to see us off. So Malzilla, is there anything you want to say before we go?
Again, thanks for listening to us on your drive to work, on your drive home, at work, while you're playing games. Whatever it is that you do while you listen to us.
Yeah,
So,
while you're cooking, while you're exercising, while you're staring out into the abyss. Whatever is that great thing that it is you do. Let us know what that thing is you do. We want to talk to you. We want to see who you are. Show yourself. Explain yourself, listener.
Exactly. So I guess with that being said, again, hope to see you in the Discord. Give us a follow. Other than that, be good yourselves. Be good to each other.
And this was the Bumblecast.
What's this? Kyle and Ian are suing me for trademark infringement. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Come at me, bro. Bye.
I'm actually...
Now what your problem is, you're all